It's not very easy to look inside of ourselves and say, what about that upset me? Instead of saying, you're wrong, you're bad, that doesn't make any sense, and I'm going to change your mind, which is often what our ego sets us out to do. There are ways that you can help yourself feel better. And no matter where you are in your life, it can be an invitation to transmute the wounds within yourself. But how do I not become the victim? How do I, that even alone, it's such a hard word to say, but like, how is this happening, or how is this not happening to me? Right. And in everything that's challenging in your life, I think the best reflection is, what am I here to learn?
Welcome to episode 64 of Super States, Practices of Transformation with me, your host, Joshua Peters. In Super States, we explore the connection of using trance states and personal development. And in every episode, we'll talk to world-class experts or industry leaders, different types of thinkers who are sharing with us the latest information and tools along with their own personal stories, all to inspire us to on our own journeys. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast through your favorite podcast host or on YouTube. That way you'll stay up to date with new episodes. And if you enjoy this show, please give me a 5-star review. That's the best way to help this show grow. In this episode today, I'm joined by Tiffany O'Hearn. Tiffany is an expert in energy healing and thought field therapy. She'll share her journey of self-discovery and healing, and then she's going to reveal how she helps others transform their lives by addressing past traumas and ancestral wounds. Ready to learn how to shift your energy and to create a harmonious life? Stay tuned for Inner Healing and Transformation with Tiffany O'Hearn. Welcome to Super States. I'm here today with Tiffany O'Hearn. Tiffany, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. And thank you, for this beautiful platform. I love the name of this podcast. And, thank you to the guests that will be listening to this and kind of going on this journey with us. I'm really grateful for the platform. So thank you.
Yeah, you bet, Tiffany. I'm excited to have this conversation. I always like to start out with getting a basic understanding of what you do. So describe what you do, how that can transform people's lives, or even how it has transformed your own life.
I love that, Joshua, because here's the thing. When I work with clients, my full disclosure is, listen, I know that this works because I've transformed myself. And when I started learning about this, specific modality of energy healing, it was being called to me so that I can help guide others. And I know that, right? Because there's two reasons for it. And, I truly believe that. And so, I really fell, head first, feet first. As soon as I learned about this technique, I said, oh, no, I need this, not only for my own life, but for those around me and those I haven't even met yet. And so, the energy healing that I do is it's based off of thought field therapy, which is most people have heard of EFT, which
Mm-hmm.
is a thought field therapy was first. That was in the 70s. And then someone said, well, we can still do this, but we're going to do it a little shorter almost. And so that's where the, and I can't remember right now, it's totally escaping me, but it's a emotional freedom technique.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so the difference between thought field therapy and EFT, or TFT and EFT, is that with EFT, you will, calm yourself down, right? But the actual removal of traumas from your thought field, that's not something that you will see. That does not dismiss the effectiveness at all. And I want to make that, very clear, right? We're all
Mm-hmm.
being called to heal from different modalities. And no matter what you're choosing, it's divinely guided. And I truly trust that. So when I work with my clients, we're looking at, your current life, these programs and decisions that you have made throughout your life that kind of shape who you are today. And so a lot of those come from traumas, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so with that, we also work with past life karma as well as our ancestral DNA. And so let's say, for instance, most of us, I do know at this point, given the people that I've guided, that we kind of come with this one wound, right? That's ours to heal in this lifetime. And so it usually has something along the same lines, although everyone's definition of it can be a little bit different. But let's say I feel unseen, right? And that's a
Hmm.
wound that I've been carrying with me. It's unlikely that it's necessarily from this current life. It's probably something left over from my past life karma, tacked on to some ancestral DNA, and then here we are expressed, right? And so as we go through our life, we pick up or we make decisions. And so what do I mean by that? So let's just say you're 3 days old and you're crying and no one is responding to you, right? And then the next person that you see is your mother. In that moment, you've decided something. Now again, you're 3 days old. So this seems like a little far-fetched, right? But you at that age, your subconscious is always paying attention, right? So it's matched with a feeling. So you go out go throughout your life, and when you're needing something but no one's responding to you, you're back at that 3-day old,
Mm.
space and place of time. And this can carry, you could be 40 years old. And so while it's not your mom that's not responding to you, it could be your partner, it could be your child, it could be your coworker, but you're experiencing it the same. The difference is that this happened so long ago that it's not even in your purview to think, wow, I should probably do something about that, right? Like, this is why this is bothering me. And so let's say the decision was no one cares about me. So anytime that someone makes you feel like they don't care about you, you're back at that 3-day old self
Mm.
because you've decided that no one cares about me, right? And so when we work, when I'm guiding clients, right? It's like, okay, Joshua, I can fill in your words for you, but I really need to get clear what it is, what's your program and all of that. So let's say, for instance, I say, what's a pet peeve, right? In a pet peeve, let's say, if I ask this question, someone doesn't fill the toilet paper roll. Okay,
Yeah.
what about that bothers you? Oh, well, they didn't fill it. Right. But there's a program under there. What is it? It's not that they didn't just fill it. Well, it makes me feel like they think that they're more important than I do. Done. Okay. They're more important than I am. It has nothing to do with Peter that didn't fill the toilet paper roll. It's just showing us another wound that we have to heal, another program that we've decided, right? But we're not thinking about it when someone doesn't fill the toilet paper roll. And so through our energetic bodies, right, through our organs, because these energies exist in our organs especially. And so with using the clients, right, or your energy, and we do that, through their voice, we guide to remove from your thought field that you don't
Mm.
matter. And so now, right, if we remove that, if we really get to the core, right? So someone comes to me and they say, well, it's about my ex. I want to get over my ex. But it's never about the ex, right? There's some core wound in there, right? And so if we can clear that core wound, well, gosh, we've just shaved a lot of these other wounds too, because they were attached to that one core wound. And
Mm.
so you literally shift the energies and remove it from your thought field. So it's not a dense wound anymore. And so it's really interesting too, because as you heal, these wounds and these beliefs that we hold, you'll interface with something and go, haha, that doesn't bother me anymore. And almost like, wait, where is it? Oh, it's not there. Right. And so as we go through and I'm working with somebody, tell me the number that you're at. So we've hit on, you don't feel seen. What does that feel like? Oh gosh, it feels like a 10. Okay. So we work together, and we check back in because the number should always be decreasing. And in almost every time you get, oh, it doesn't even bother me anymore. Yes, that's exactly what should happen. It should
Mm.
not bother you anymore so that it's removed from your thought field because our thoughts are what's keeping it there, right? It's within our body, it's in our mind, in our body, in our soul. And that's what makes our life feel more challenging
Mm.
between the ears,
So,
so to speak.
so you're using tapping
Yes.
as a
Yep.
form of removing this from your thought field. So, thought field therapy. Is that the correct term?
Yeah, that is correct. And then, there's also, some other modalities that I weave into depending on, the specificity of what the client is, wanting to work on and what they're trying to transmute within themselves. It's like most of the time my clients will come to me with, hey, this is what it is. But by the time we're done, we're way over here.
Hmm.
We're in your childhood. It's hardly ever about this one thing. The
Sure.
one thing was the impetus to you accepting and asking and welcoming the healing,
Hmm.
but it's hardly ever about that one thing. And so, if we think about the density of energies, like I try to see it as I'm not seen is a big mass in my body. And every time that something bumps up against that, it's coming up, right? And so then at that point, if we think about our energy system, our chi is flowing through us. And every time a new or a trauma or an old decision or a program comes up, right? And again, these can be from our past life and they can be from our ancestral DNA. We get like almost like a waterfall. If our energy is a waterfall, and we get these little logs kind of shunting them, right? And so all of a sudden you go from a really great day, hey, everything is great today, there's isn't anything that can oh no, not feeling so good anymore, and we can't make sense of it. It's because of these old programs and old wounds that are showing up and sort of stopping our flow of energy. And so in order for us to have this energy, this abundant, energy flowing throughout us, is to work to remove these traumas that we've
Mm.
experienced and programs and things like that. And trauma is such a, you know I don't know, what was it, 20 years ago, when people really started talking about PTSD, right?
Hmm.
And I don't know about you, Joshua, but I was like, well, if I wasn't in war, I'm not traumatized. Like everything's great, because it was really, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it's really sort of developed into, all of us, we have wounds. We have these wounds. You can call them trauma, you can call them wounds, you can call them programs, you can call them decisions, but they're all the same thing. And if we don't, take that dense energy and transmute it, it will affect us, and it
Mm.
will show up because it's resistance, right? It's almost like
Mm.
this energy, this energetic resistance within us. And so if you want to be the person, if you strive, if you have this vision of yourself, you can get there. Generally what's holding us back is our wounds, right? I'm
Yeah.
not good enough. I don't have enough worth. I don't love myself enough. Well, those, and I say this out loud for all to hear, not that you necessarily have to heal with me, because you find someone that fits, your need, but they're invitations, they're whispers for
Mm.
you to heal.
I love it. And Tiffany, when I was doing some research on you earlier, I found that you work with a lot of different modalities, and that kind of tells me that you've been a little bit of a seeker yourself. So, what I'm curious about is how you got to where you are now. Like, share with us your journey of self discovery and healing.
Yeah, and that's such a great question because, you know, we are all, those of us who are interested, right, in helping, in healing, in guiding others. It's because we're wounded ourselves, and we've learned to move past that, move through that, and maybe we're still working on that. But I think that I've been called from a very young age. I can remember thinking to myself, maybe like 5, 6, 7, I can't exactly say the definite date, but I remember having this feeling in my head. It's like, it's okay, when I'm an adult, I'll know. Because they
Mm.
know, because everyone tells you adults know, you have to listen to adults, 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 you're just a child. And I was like, no, adults aren't adults. They're just older, right?
Mm.
And they're wounded and expressing that too. And so how do I live a life within that? And I think that caused me internal chaos, but in a beautiful way. For me to take, these wounds and through myself, and to find these ways, because that's really what this has been for me, is a journey to find a way back to me. And it's taken, some work in a lot of, I don't want to say trial and error, because everything I've learned, right, I make use of. So it's not trial and error, it's trial and keep going, and
Hmm.
then continue on your next path of being called. And when I learned about this energy healing, something just went off in me. Went off, went up, went in. I don't know what you want to call it, but I was so deeply attracted to that. And I said, no, here's what I've been looking for the past, 41 years. This is what all of this has culminated to, is for this level for myself, to integrate this for myself, and to be that for, the clients that I have now and will, have in the future. And so it's just this inner knowing within myself that life isn't exactly as it seems. And I think that was my biggest learning curve, right? Adults are adults. Well, they're not, right? They're just older. This is the way the world works. Oh, wait, if we follow the mainstream, I don't like the way that life works. That doesn't work for me. So I'm
Mm.
going to go right instead of left. right? I'm going to spend more time in nature. I'm going to do the things that make me feel good. And then you realize, like, no, life actually should be like this, right? And the more that we can respond to life and not resist it, gosh,
Mm.
there's such freedom in there. And it doesn't mean that, bad things won't happen to you. Life is, our life here, it is going to be, we have emotions, right? It's going to be pretty hard sometimes. But how much can you sit in that? And that comes to how much you've healed, because it's very uncomfortable. But are you okay with being uncomfortable?
Mm.
Somebody this morning, I was on an interview, I was interviewing someone, and success came up. And I said, for me, success is nothing more than being able to sit within yourself when it's really uncomfortable, and to ask those hard questions, and to sit within. Because so often we're out. We're out. Let me get on TikTok. Let me get on Instagram. Let me buy some ice cream. Let me, drink. Let me smoke, because I don't want to be in. But that's where we need to be, is
Mm.
reflection and curiosity within, you know?
What's the what's your favorite way to do that?
Well, two ways. Nature for me is just huge. I do a lot of hiking. I do a lot of just immersive nature as much as I can, because the birds in the trees will change how you're vibrating. you know the wind changes how you're vibrating, and it just amplifies that joy and happiness within. But outside of that, I spend my time being very curious to what upsets me, right?
Mm.
Because it's an invitation to heal. And then I write it down. And then when I get the opportunity, or when the opportunity presents itself, I'll heal that and clear that for myself. Because all of this is really, really, really simple, but it's not easy. And I get that.
Mm.
It's not very easy to look inside of ourselves and say, what about that upset me? What about you, my conversation with you, Joshua, right? Like, what about that really upset me? Instead of saying, you're wrong, you're bad, that doesn't make any sense, and I'm going to change your mind, which is often what our ego sets us out to do, right? Is to
Mhm.
tell everybody else, and I was just talking about this today. Tell me something that's actually right and wrong, and not just an opinion, because I don't actually think that exists. Right. And then someone said to me, Tiffany, I hear you, but I follow God and I follow Jesus. And I said, that's great. And I'm really happy for you. And I go to Bible study, even better. But you and I can read the same verse in the Bible, and we've had such different experiences that our interpretation of that will be different. So who can say what God meant in that moment? It's nothing more than our opinions based on our experience. And so for me, how do I stay in my heart space? That's how I'm guided now. And if I'm not in my heart space,
Mm.
what do I need to heal to get back into that heart space?
I love that. I resonate with being in nature too. Like that is a way to uh, really calm my nervous system. Calms right down when I'm surrounded by green.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, what would you say is most misunderstood by about this uh, thought form transformation? Like, what do people
Sure.
not understand about it?
I think that they don't understand that they can do it. That it's there for you, right? There are ways that you can help yourself feel better. And no matter where you are in your life, it can be an invitation to transmute the wounds within yourself, right? And what I always say is, too, if you want to really get curious, pay attention to what you react to, not respond, right?
Hmm.
So a response is something different. A response is flow, right? You get pulled over and you're not, oh, I'm going to get a ticket, I'm going to get a ticket, and the cop comes to the door, oh, I'm sorry, I'm going to get a ticket. No, it doesn't mean anything. You just got pulled over. Could be a misunderstanding, right? I choose to respond instead of react. When you can't respond and you do react, there's a program there. There's a
Hmm.
definite program there. So, let's say your kid spills the proverbial spilled milk and you yell, why? Don't beat yourself up. Ask yourself the hard question. What about that caused me to have that reaction? Oh, it's that they weren't listening to me and I feel disrespected. Perfect. Is that the child's fault? No. Is it because of everything that you've experienced in your life? Yes. Does it make it right? That's not for my judgment, right? And so when it comes to this level of healing, is that we do have wounds and they are yours in this life to heal. And I trust that if you are asking for it, if you're listening to this, then it must resonate or you wouldn't be here, right?
Mm.
I
Yeah.
don't believe in accidents or coincidences. I think the universe divinely guides us at all times, you know? And so, where are you in your journey? Do you want to be or continue to be the victim of your life? And I say that with love and not judgment because I was the victim of my life for a very long time, right?
Hmm.
We all have been. Why does this keep happening to me? Why does this me, you know? And it in a different space and place of time, you might come to the understanding that the world is happening around you. It's not happening to you. And so when we think it's happening to us, again, that's an invitation I feel to get curious within. And why is this bothering me? Right? And then know, have that knowing within yourself that you're not alone and the right thing to help you will present itself when you're ready, willing, and able. Because trying to talk to people, and I apologize if that noise, there's someone working on our house. Um, but if people, if I talk to people about energy healing and what they do, you can tell right away if they're interested or not. And my job is not to sell you to heal, right? It's simply an invitation. Some people just aren't ready for it. And it doesn't mean ever, it just means not now.
Hmm.
And that's okay too, right? But if something resonates, it'll continue to resonate with you and follow that. Follow that because it's a whisper. It's a whisper, as I call it. Your soul's going to find ways to whisper to you. It's just up to you whether you listen or not. But you do not have to live the life you are living now if you don't want to.
Yeah, you just threw down a whole bunch of truth bombs on us there, Tiffany. And I like to think of, rather than coincidence, I like to think of synchronicities, and
Yes,
then watch for synchronicities, how things are connected, and our brains will find those.
they
um,
will.
the
They
other
will. And that's what
piece,
oop,
go ahead.
I was just going to say that's the other thing that's really an invitation for as well is to witness, right? To be a witness to what's happening, to witness. Because there's beauty in it and you will find exactly what you're looking for, right? If you and I get into a little argument, I have two choices. I can see you with love and compassion because I don't know what your life is like, what happened to you today. I don't know any of that. That's compassion, right? To know what it is that you don't know.
Hmm.
And so you can have that compassion and witness that within yourself. I truly do believe that we can do that.
Yeah, and that kind of comes back to a statement you made earlier too. I'm going to phrase it just slightly different, just because this is the way I think about it, but I think it's
Sure.
in alignment with you. The things that happen to us in our life, it's not our fault, but it's our responsibility to heal from those things.
Yes.
And
Yes.
kind of using that frame has made a huge difference for me anyway in my journey.
Yeah, and I love, I love the way that you put that too, right? It's like it's an invitation. What you do with it is, it's purely up to you in your own life. But it is here for you. You can change. You can shift because no one is shifting, we can't expect other people to shift. They're not they're not gonna for us. They don't
Yeah.
need to. They don't need to. It's not. But how do I not become the victim? How do I, and that even alone, it's such a hard word to say, but like how is this happening or how is this not happening to me? Right? And in everything that's challenging in your life, I think the best, reflection is what am I here to learn?
Hmm. Yeah. What can
Right?
I
What am
learn
I
from
here to
this?
learn? Yeah. Because everything is a learning experience, including things that make us feel good. We're just not as open to it when it makes us feel good because we're like, no, this feels good. I'm not going to think about anything else, right? I'm going to enjoy the birds or, right?
Yeah.
But when it feels hard, get curious. What am I here to learn?
I had a moment a couple of years ago. It was the dead of winter, probably below zero, and it was sleeting, a cold day. I drove my car to get some lunch. I was working, and I uh, came back to my car, and I had a flat tire.
Mm,
And no, actually, it was even before I went into the. I only had a limited amount of time to get some food, so but I had a flat tire at this place, and a past part of me would have been really angry and kind of railed against the universe for all of this stuff. And I laughed at that part and just laughed at, well, I really laughed at the absurdity of the situation.
mm-hmm.
Um, Put the spare tire on. Instead of lunch, I drove over to a garage and had him put a new tire on and continued on with my day. But the fact that I didn't get angry and it wasn't a reaction,
Right.
right? It wasn't the typical reaction. Showed me, oh, I've been doing some work. I was really feeling good about the negative situation and how it showed up.
Yeah, because it is just a choice. Every situation in our life is just a choice away or a choice of difference, right? So you can be really upset that you have a flat tire, which will cause you resistance, which will cause you anxiety, which will cause you chaos.
Hmm.
It invites it. Or you can say, there's something I don't know here. I don't know what it is. I don't know. Can't possibly know, right? I don't know why I have a flat tire. I don't need to know. It's not for me to know. It's just for me to move on or move forward, move through,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And I just made a post just right before this that's like, whatever you're doing right now is exactly what the universe wants you to do. And I say that because oftentimes I'll have these giant to dos. And what's really helped me recently is, no, whatever I'm doing is exactly what I'm meant to do. And it takes that stress away because I'll get to what needs to get done in the exact order and way in which it needs to get done, but I don't need to have all this control and resistance towards everything else
Mm.
because life is going to throw you curveballs at all times, you know? Like you're going to get a flat tire, your internet's not going to work. Maybe you get stuck in traffic. Traffic is a huge one. I think being in the car really highlights a lot for us. And I had said this in front of a bunch of people the other day. We were having like a cookout, and I said, if you really want to know who you are and what kind of person you are, think about what you say when people aren't listening. Because I think the car is the biggest way for that because I'll be with people and they'll be like, wow, you're such a beep, beep, beep. And I'm like, you don't know anything about that person. You don't know one thing about them. You don't know if they didn't see you. You don't know if they have a newborn baby in their car. You don't know if they're holding a cake. You don't know if they're holding, someone's hand as they're taking them to the emergency. There's not one thing that you know about this person. So to assume that you know, well, that just shows again to witness
Hmm.
that inner reflection because we're so quick. People do it online all the time. Oh, you're this, you're that. You don't know anything about me, and I don't know anything about you. Let's get curious instead of, being resistant towards life, really.
Yeah. And so, Tiffany, who are some of the influences that you have on your work?
So I met the reason I even fell into energy healing. I had went to school with the gentleman who was putting on, this free 5-day course, and I was like, this guy, he's doing that, because you're in high school, right? And so what I think of him 20 years later is the same thing that I thought of him 20 years before, right?
Sure.
And it wasn't bad or anything. It was just like, I don't really know much about this guy, but now all of a sudden he's speaking the same language as me. And it was just deep curiosity, right? It was just such deep curiosity. And, after, the 5-day challenge, and I was like, oh no, I need to know more of this. And so, he has been incredibly influential, through learning and growing. Somebody that I follow very, you know, every day, especially, is I don't know if you've heard of him, but Kevin Trudeau. He runs the Global Information Network, and he is someone who gives a lot of away a lot of free material. And it is, if you want to live a better life, follow him. Truly, like work that into your life, because it's just, I want to be like him. So if I want to be like him, then I want to do the things that he's doing and,
Yeah.
read the books that matter. These some old books. I'm reading a book right now, and it's called The Greatest Salesman in the World. And there's different scrolls in there. And the first scroll you read every day for 30 days. And you consequently, it takes you a year to read this book that's like 120 pages. And
Hmm.
so I'm day 20 into reading twice a day. The chapter when I wake and before I go to bed, I've been reading these pages. And what it does is instill such integrity and such habit within your life. And so, anything that can really amplify my abundance within, from a inner knowing is really how I'm truly guided. And you know working with people who have what I want or are where I want to go, and really just inviting them as much as I can into my own solar system, and just being a student of life, really.
Love it. And so based on kind of, the type of work that you do, what is a and this show is called Super State. So we're talking about a way to alter your state, which I assume the
Yes.
tapping is a way to do that. What's a practical way someone could use this process to make a change in their life?
So you can follow through with just some of the points within you to feel better, right? And there's like one of the practices that we do, which we can do it right now. Is this
Yeah.
this audio and video for the guests? For
It's it's audio for some people, it's video for others. So
Okay.
if you should describe what we're doing
Sure.
for the people that
Okay,
are just
perfect.
listening.
Yeah. So when somebody starts telling me about their wounds and their trials and tribulations, right? It's really honoring them. And so how do you do that? And you can do this at any space and place of time. And it's, you take your knuckles of both your hands and right above, right on your chest, like above the breast area. And just to rub in a circular motion and or up and down. So this is our kidney meridian. This is our chi. This is our life force, right? And so it goes something like this. Even though I'm on this podcast and I don't know what to say, it's okay. I still love and accept myself. Even though he might ask me really hard questions and I don't know how to answer, it's okay. I still love and accept myself. Right. And so you're just taking whatever comes up into your field, whatever comes up into your thought field, and you're acknowledging it, you're witnessing it, and you're loving yourself anyways. And so that's what it looks like. So, really, the only two things that you need to do is using that area of your chest, either circular motion or up and down with your hands. And then what's bothering me? Even though, even though I'm sweating right now and I feel really hot. It's okay. I still love and accept myself.
Mhm.
Even though somebody just cut me off and I really want to say all these bad, terrible things about them, it's okay. I still love and accept myself. Right. And so, even though whatever you feel in, I still love and accept myself, because these are all these little programs, and our emotions should flow. The reason they don't flow is because of what we're talking about, right? These traumas, these programs, these wounds. And so sometimes to break through them, you might not remove them, but you can certainly feel better about your day, is just to acknowledge them. Most of the time, we don't acknowledge it. We're just not
Mm.
witnessing ourselves. It's like, I eat as cleanly as I can. That doesn't mean I don't go to a restaurant, right? Because it's not clean. Let's be honest. Most of these restaurants are not clean. But that's okay, because I'm just going to honor it anyways. Yeah, this is not going to be the cleanest, but I don't have to cook. I don't have to clean. Someone else is going to wait on me, and it's okay. Right. So you're
Mhm.
just acknowledging and witnessing whatever in your life and loving yourself for it anyways. And that is just such a beautiful exercise for any of us to do. I also will include, a link to a YouTube that I created, which just addresses the 15 points. Because even if you just tap those 15 points, you don't have to know your program. You don't have to know anything really. But if you feel bad, tap these points and watch it shift. Because
Awesome.
what it does is it interrupts our thoughts. And that's what we
Mm.
need to do. Anything to interrupt our thoughts is where we need to be. Is it belly breathing? Should I tap some points? Should I just acknowledge where I am? Take your attention out of your mind into something more physical.
Yeah.
That will help you feel better. And then outside of that, if you really do, if you have these wounds and you are being called and you are ready, it doesn't have to be me. I'm very open to that, right? I'm not for everybody. And that's okay. But it's an invitation for you to find what is really going to help you remove, right, these old programs that don't serve you anymore. They simply don't serve you. And that's what I always say as we're going through these healing. I say, okay, shake it off. It's not yours anymore. You don't own it. right? It's like we don't know something until we know it. But once you know it, meaning once you know, oh, this is a program, well, you can't unknow it.
Mm.
So you might as well just go through it.
Is there anything? So, say someone is interested in starting to go through these different, uh, beliefs or wounds or traumas or whatever you want to call them. Is there anything that they should be aware of, or anything they should watch out for as they start to explore these things?
It's always helpful, again, just to be a witness of yourself, right? Is to kind of take in a pet peeve one is actually really important and really powerful because it's very benign. Right. If I ask you what your pet peeve is, you're like, yes, where do I begin? Right. Most people have a whole list of them. Right. And so
Yeah.
if it's chewing with your mouth open, there's a program there. There's a reason you don't like it. And it has nothing to do with, Jeff in the cubicle chewing with his mouth open. It doesn't have anything to do with Jeff. And the more that we can understand that however we feel is a product of ourselves and not everyone else, more of that invitation comes within. And so, if you want to begin or you are in your healing journey and this resonates, then I would just spend some time getting super curious, because our subconscious holds it all and it has all of the details in there, right? But if I say, Joshua, what happened to you when you were 4 days old? You're like, I have no idea. But if we start nudging your subconscious and it has something to do with a wound that we're talking about, I mean, I've one of my clients came up with a wound a couple of days old where she fell out of like rolled like fell off the bed. And it came to her because of this subconscious. We're just nudging the subconscious very, very gently. I do have to trigger you in order because if it's not in your thought field, we can't possibly clear it.
Hmm.
But I'll have people in front of me. They will be openly weeping and sobbing. And within 10 minutes, they're like, how you doing? Right. And there's such beauty in that because I can literally see the energy transmute right in front of them where that they just blowing it off. And it's something that every time I see it, it's like, oh my goodness, I'm so humbled and honored. And thank you for trusting me, because it's so vulnerable. You're so vulnerable in those moments to even share your story with somebody else and to share these wounds and to reflect inward. It takes a very vulnerable space in a very safe place. And so I'm so honored when people do choose, right? For me to guide them through that healing process because not only, and here's the other thing, not only are you healing for right today, but you're healing your past life karmas, which will only help you for your next life. You're also healing your ancestral DNA, which is a gift to humanity.
Mm.
It doesn't matter if you're having children or not, because you've healed your aunt. You're helping to heal your aunt or your cousins or your brothers or your sisters, right? And so it's this beautiful gift that you can gift somebody without them ever knowing, which to
Mm.
me is the most amazing gift of all.
Mm. So we're talking a lot about shifting energy and altering our state. And what's making you excited about the future of these kinds of technologies?
The more that we can step into our heart space, which is, the more that we have negative vibrations within us is taking us away from our heart space. And the more that we can, you know, give ourselves more love, find that love within, it extends so powerfully. Because, I was just talking about this today in a group that I run. A smile is free, and we've all heard that. But the secret to living is giving. And it doesn't mean you have to give money. It doesn't mean you can simply be the gift for others to receive just by
Mm.
smiling at it. And not just because that minimizes it, you know? And so when we can really work to heal these wounds, we're healing generations. We're healing future lives. And that to me makes me, it just amplifies how much more I want to do for humanity because there is dualities out there. And, there are people who are caught in the middle. And those are the ones that I want to help, right? The ones that say, I could go this way, but this sounds good. Yes, it does. And you get to have that in this life. You get to have it. And that brings me such joy to see somebody shift and want to, collectively. And I always say that the love you have to give others is directly correlated to the love you have within.
What's the Beatles quote? And in the end, the love you uh, m- take is equal to the love you make. I think that's how it
Yes.
goes.
Yes. Yes, and that's really true. And then so, well, no, 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 I love my kids more than I love myself. Well, that may feel true, and if it is, it's an unhealthy attachment,
Hmm.
right? Because in order for us to truly love outside of ourselves is to deeply love ourselves within, because that's how we can share that.
Yeah.
Because love isn't judgmental.
Hmm.
Love is just pure. Love isn't love is a flower that just bloomed, right? Love is the wind that blows through the trees. Love is the water, right? It's just that stillness, that beauty. And so how do we radiate that and gift that out and give
Hmm.
that to humanity? We got to love ourselves first.
So, Tiffany, how can people learn more about you?
Yeah, so I have my website, which is Heart in Soul Healing. So it's www.heartandsoulhealing.com. And I can also be found on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. I post a lot of videos. I also have been running a lot of group workshops. I just ran one actually this past Saturday, which was navigating narcissism, which is really just healing the wounds, right? So if narcissistic people are in your life, you're attracting them, they're in your field. We can't change them. Please don't try, right? But what can you do? How can you, be the creator of your life is to shift those energies from within. And
Hmm.
so I do a lot of group healing. I do a financial abundance one where we work to remove, financial blocks, because yes, those are real too. And I try to do at least 3 of those a month. And so I have a platform with which you can, search the ones that I've done previously and the ones that are up and coming. So they can also get in touch with me, within that. And then I also have my own podcast on Gnostic TV called The Alchemy of Abundance. And then, I just like to be a guest just to spread love as much as I can in as many places that I can. And, and that's really, really from the heart center.
Awesome. I will make sure that all of those links and maybe even more are in the show notes for you. What's the last thing, though, the one insight that you want the audience to leave with today, Tiffany?
That you're listening to this and it's not a mistake, that it was divinely, you're divinely guided to hear this. And like I said, it doesn't have to be me, but what were you here to learn? What was your takeaway from that? Right. And to be intentional with it, to be intentional with whatever it is that you're here for, and know that, in the world that we live in right now, if we want to celebrate it, we're having this conversation. I'm celebrating that. We're in two different places, right? If that's not energy, I don't know what is. So we have so much at our disposal that is really set to, bring in more of that light. And so if you want to burn brighter, baby, we got you, right?
Love that. Tiffany, it's been really a fascinating conversation. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. And I wish you a beautiful life, Joshua.
Hey there. If you feel like something holds you back from reaching your true potential, listen up. I've got something incredible to share with you. I'm offering a free 7-day email program that helps you break through those blocks to get to the unshakable confidence and success that you deserve. Imagine starting each day with a clear mind, a strong sense of purpose, and the confidence to go after whatever it is that you truly want. This program guides you through a powerful process to uncover and then eliminate the root causes of your limitations. You receive daily emails with practical steps, immersive audio exercises, and techniques that help you rewrite your personal story. As your expert coach, I am there to support you every step of the way. Now, people have used this program to remove old triggers and create a new empowering mindset, or others have used it to remove resistance to taking certain actions. You can have these same kind of results or something different. If you feel ready to break free from what holds you back, the fears, the worries, the anxieties, those old patterns, whatever they are, and you're ready to embrace a life of confidence and fulfillment, go to xfactorhypnosis.com/transform. It's completely free and you gain a more empowered you. You can use the link in the show notes or just type xfactorhypnosis.com/transform into your favorite browser. Thanks for listening. And remember, stay curious, keep growing, and embrace your transformation.